Guys, it's Dan, and it's time for another book review. This time around, I'm here to review Gwendy's Button Box by Stephen King and Richard Chizmar. And I know that typically, the order of the names you're supposed to say, I think, are supposed to be alphabetical order. But I'm going with Stephen King prior to Richard Chizmar on this one, just because I found out after I finished reading it that Stephen King, this was Gwendy's Button Box, was an old story that Stephen King had written, but he just didn't know how to finish the story. He didn't know how to end it. So, being that Richard Chizmar is an email pal of his, he kind of emailed him the story, and he said, hey, if you can finish and get an ending for this story, we'll call it a collab. And Richard Chizmar had finished and completed the story, and it's been put out. Now, I don't know if the sequel is the same situation where it's a prior Stephen King story that Richard Chizmar, added an ending to, or if it's a total collab. I don't really know. But one of the things I can say about this is it really blends really well. You can't really tell the difference between King's style and Richard Chizmar's all that much. I do think at some point near the end, I think I saw a slight change in stylistic of the writing that I thought maybe that's where Richard Chizmar had come in and took over the story. Another thing I want to mention, I'm going to go into the synopsis a little bit in case you're not familiar with it. If I didn't mention, this is a novella. It is a very short story. I think it was roughly 133 pages. Really short one, and it was kind of slow to start. I was thinking at first that this was going to be a 3-star book for me, but it kind of picked up about halfway through. It kind of picked up for me. The story involves Gwendolyn Peterson, who at the time she's either 12 or 13, and she's jogging in Castle Rock at what's called the Suicide Stairs, and I'm not going to go into the background of why it's called that. If you read the book, you'll find out why it's called that. And there's this guy who appears to be kind of creepy. He's just sitting on a bench wearing, he's all dressed in black with a little tiny black hat, and he says something to Gwendy, which is kind of, she's understandably kind of creeped out because, what is up with this guy? It's set in the late 70s, and this is way before stranger danger was a thing. And she's kind of creeped out, and she knows that she shouldn't be talking to strangers. And like I said, she's really creeped out, and this guy says he knows her, he's aware of her life and all that, and he kind of gifts her this button box. Now, come to find out, this is in the synopsis, so this isn't spoiling anything. The button box has godlike powers, and the book kind of centers around the morality of having an object or item that has these godlike powers, and how would you handle or use or abuse this item if you had the opportunity to do so. Very interesting plot, if you ask me. I did think that was kind of an interesting concept. But like I said, King kind of, it just was really slow. Because, we see how Gwendy's she's rewarded for caretaking of the box. Because that's more or less what she is. She becomes the caretaker of this box that this guy has bestowed upon her, and she gets rewarded by receiving silver coins and chocolate treats, which I'm not going to go into any details about the silver coins or the chocolate treats, but they do impact on her life and make her life a little bit better than it was or could have or had been, which I thought was pretty cool. Now, this leads to a similar events. We go through her life, and it quickens the pace, and her life becomes improved, but at the same time she happens upon these instances where tragedies happen to her, and she kind of wonders if it is because she is the caretaker of the box. So the whole concept of morality and the box and everything centering around this box was kind of interesting. I do think this is one worth checking out. I did rate this 4 out of 5 star rating on Goodreads. I really enjoyed this. Like I said, once you get past the halfway mark, it really picks up and starts to get interesting. There are some interesting characters that are in this book, which are very king-like, if you might say. You know, there's the guy that's kind of the douchey character who's like an alcoholic that, you know, kind of picks on her, and he's trying to entrap her in certain scenes. And yeah, there's a lot to unpack, but with it being so short, I just really can't go into too much detail because I feel like I'll be spoiling it for you. But I love the fact that they kind of incorporated some historical events to try to intertwine them in this story to make the story that much more interesting. I really appreciated that and found that to be interesting. I definitely feel like I'm going to have to go check out the sequel to this book. Like I said, I don't know if the sequel is something that they entirely newly created to follow up this book. And I think I might want to check out Richard Chizmar's writing because I really think he gave this story some oomph that King just kind of lacked with this story. And the fact that Chizmar really impacted and made this into what I thought was originally going to be a 3-star book into a 4-star book, I think that means I should definitely check out his writing. Of course, as always, for those of you in the U.S., I will have a link to Amazon. For those of you outside the U.S., I have a new link called bookshop.org. What bookshop.org does is it tries to find a bookshop in your area. I think it's on websites. It could be local. I'm not 100% sure how it works. I haven't tried it out myself, but I do know that they try to help locate a book closest to you so that way you can purchase it and all of that jive. I also have my coffee link if you don't mind throwing in $1 or $2 to help out support my channel. I appreciate all the people that have been purchasing items through my links or donating to my coffee. I also appreciate new subscribers. If you came here looking for book reviews and book recommendations, please hit that subscriber button, and while you're there, hit that notification bell so you're well aware of when I upload again. Sorry this was such a short review, but like I said, being that it was a novella and there wasn't too much more I can really say, besides, you know, what I had gone over, I thought it's pretty good, and I'm looking forward to checking out book 2. That's all I got for you guys. Thank you for watching. Until next time, this has been Dan. Be good to each other. Bye.